Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Jason West, your host. Just want to get started. I just got back from Lake Chatuge, fishing a tournament up there over the weekend. It was a lot of fun. I hadn't been there in probably about 4 or 5 years now. Didn't get to pre-fish again. I know after everything I said the last video, I was going to start trying to focus on pre-fishing, but just did not have a chance. And it's hard to pre-fish some of these lakes when they're almost out of state, you know. I can't go up there the week before and find lodging and do all that stuff and then come back the next week and fish. It's just rough. It's not really my home lake, but again, I know the lake well enough to know kind of how it's going to behave, what to look for, and what to do. So. And then a little backstory leading up to me going up to Chatuge and fishing this tournament. So about a week and a half ago, and again in my last video I mentioned everyone had motors. I couldn't compete with people with motors because I just couldn't cover the ground and the water that in the areas that they were covering. So I reached out and purchased a motor drive for my overdrive in my Lure 11.5 kayak, so through Feel Free, and so I got the motor drive in, and I could not find a battery. Could not find a battery to save my life. You can't find them. They're all on back order till the end of April, which is about right about now. I'm sure you can probably maybe starting to see some batteries trickle in, but I was like, man, I got to get a battery. I got to get a battery. I've got this tournament this weekend. Otherwise, this is useless. So wound up a buddy of mine. I'll say a buddy of mine, teammate of mine. Reached out, helped me find a battery. It was huge help. So can't say enough about that, and just the help that I got from him is just phenomenal. But so I got it hooked up. It wasn't 100% permanent. Like there was no. I still need to set up kind of a battery box in the hull. Still need to set up specific cables for the drive, but I got the cables that will work right now. I just have to unscrew them every time I want to change them or charge or anything like that. So gonna get that fixed in the future. I've got them already ordered. Anyway, going up there, so I spent the night in Blue Ridge, which is about halfway to Chatuge for me. Went there, woke up the next morning about 5 a.m., grabbed my battery, grabbed my gear, threw it in the truck, and left. Got to Blue Ridge, and the whole time I was nervous about, man, I don't know what the ramp's gonna look like. I hope there's not 35 boats out there trying to pull it back in and go in the lake, because I just got this brand new motor set up and I don't know what all it's gonna entail for me to do to set it up, you know. So I get there about 6:30, launch time 7. Normally that's enough time. It was not enough time for me. It took me about 45 minutes to 50 minutes to set everything up. I had to put my seat back in it, screw everything down, screw the bolts back in it, and then I had to put in the pedal drive, then I had to put in the motor drive, then I had to feed all the wiring in through the kayak into the hull, then I had to get my battery out, and then I had to set up my battery and hook my battery up, and then I had to get my other battery for my fish finder and set that up and hook that up. So then by that time everything is good to go. You know, then I got to bring my fish finder out, my actual unit, plug it in, get everything set up. So everything's good there. Get out on the water, you know, back it down, slide it in, get everything set up, and I'm bringing my rods and reels and loading up everything and ready to go. By this time, it is 8:20, 8:25. Fun times, right? So I'm already 20 minutes late. My game plan was I was going to make a really long run on the south end of this lake, probably about a mile and a half, and go underneath this little bridge, and hopefully that was going to eliminate a lot of pressure that these bass were seeing, because I was hoping a lot of big boats aren't going to be able to make it back there. And then once I got back there, it opens up into kind of this, I don't know, I wonder if it was a pond at one point in time before they turned this lake into kind of a reservoir. So I don't know what it was, but I pulled in and it opens back up into this big area, and you've got, at the very end of it, you've got a stream streaming into it. So I've got running water, I've got current, I've got shallow water, and it's about that time for spawn too. So I was thinking, these are all the conditions I'm looking for, this is what I want to do. So I take off, and on the way there I had one stop I wanted to make. So I go there, I stop at the one spot I want to stop at, I see some activity, throw a jerkbait in a couple times, twitch, whatever, get a bite. So, and you'll notice if you go back and look at the linear footage and then look at this footage, you'll notice I was very focused on this, and my retrieves and bringing these fish in are totally different than the way I did it in linear. I had to adapt, I had to change, right? You have to keep mixing things up and changing things up if they're not working. Linear, I was losing fish left and right. They were even jumping out of the kayak after I caught them, right? So couldn't have it this time. So I changed, I adapted. So I've got this fish, hook it, play it out really well, take my time, get it to the boat, check out the hook, the hook's good, I lip it, pull it in, take it off, make sure everything is good, make sure I've got it firmly in my hands, take out the bump board, put it on, put the fish on, it's not jumping. All right, got my identifier on my hand, put the hand down, take the picture, take a couple pictures just for safekeeping, you know, make sure that I've got one that'll work, and take the fish back out, put it in the water. I've been out there for 10 minutes, I already got one keeper. Bing, bang, boom, awesome. And this is the first time at that moment I got to enter a fish in Tourney X. Never done that before. So that's a first. I'm like, all right, I'm moving on. I didn't even get to enter a fish in Tourney X and linear. That's how bad it was. At the end of linear, I was like, man, I just want to be able to enter a fish in Tourney X for the first time ever. Never got a chance. So anyway, I fished there for a couple more minutes. Nothing's really doing. My plan was I'm going to make this long run. After a while, I'm going to come back up to this spot because I think this spot might hold fish and the fish might get more active. So in this area towards the end of the day, in the afternoon bite, might pick up here. So that's my plan. Anyway, I make a long run using the motor drive. First time ever. It's awesome. Just turn on the motor drive. I'm even pulling out my phone. I'm like text my dad, hey, da 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 da, I caught a fish already, blah 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 blah, you know. Pull up the standings, hey, I'm 10th, you know. That's kind of crazy. Get to my spot. So I make this long run. I stop a couple of places just because I'm like, I gotta check them out. If I had pre-fished, I probably wouldn't have stopped, but it wasn't a big deal. I probably wasted 10, 15 minutes stopping at those spots. So get there, lay down on my rods, go underneath this bridge, and then when it comes back, when I get through the other end of this bridge, this place just opens up. I didn't think it was this big on the maps, but it looked like a good spot on the maps, and it looked like it had what I was looking for on the maps. So I get there, it opens up. There's already a bass boat on the other side of this little, I'm gonna say it's a little lake, pond, whatever. So there's a bass boat on this side already. I'm like, that's fine, no big deal. This left side's all opened up. So start going down the left side. There's a little dock. Get there, make a couple casts, bink, fish. So again, I'm like, all right, I'm not rushing it, taking my time, reeling it in, making sure my drag is good, just taking my time, get it to the boat. I'm like, I don't know if it's gonna go, I don't, you know, whatever. Pull it in, put it on the board, it'll go. So pretty stoked about that. Put it on, second keeper of the day. It's probably only 8:30 maybe-ish, 8:45. So put it on the bump board, take some more pictures, enter it in Tourney X. Go ahead and release it. Yeah, I think I took a selfie or something too. And then I release it. Pretty stoked about it. So I do that. That's the puppy. So I do that, and then make like 2 casts more, 2 or 3 more casts. Bink, another fish. I'm like, all right, this is a really great sign. So pull this one in. This one's bigger than, this is the biggest of the day. This is my 3rd fish, keeper. Pull it in, and I'm not even wondering if this is a keeper. I'm like, this is gonna go 12. So I pull it in. Played out the drag. If you can watch the video, you can see the fish is slowly coming to the boat. I'm not trying to just jerk it in and ski it across the water. I'm like, all right, it's taking drag. I'm letting it, reeling it back in, taking some drag, reeling it back in. I'm just playing it out. It gets to the boat. I'm like, I'm happy with the way I played that fish. The gear's working great. The drag's working great. Everything is set up perfectly the way I want it right now. So I get it to the boat, hooked good. Pull it out, unhook it, put it on the board. I think this one goes 13.5.
Oh boy. That's a male.
So take the pictures that I need to take, enter it in Tourney X, and at this point I'm up to third. You know, it's about 8:39 in the morning. I know those aren't real live standings, right? Because there's other people that are catching fish and they are not entering in fish yet. You know, like they'll catch 4 or 5 fish and enter them all in one time. But I'm still pretty pumped. I'm like, all right, well, I'm third. I'm third right now. Theoretically, I am third. You know, I knew it wasn't going to hold. I knew I had to keep hammering, and I knew the fish that I had were not going to keep me in third spot. You know, even if I'd caught 2 more fish the same size, wasn't going to do me a lot of good, right? So I go out and I just keep fishing. I'm fishing all around this area, and I should have known better at this point in time, but I went back into the back of this creek. I came out, and there was this big flat off of the creek. When you come out, there's this big flat, maybe about 6 inches deep, and I see all this action going on top of this flat, and I'm thinking, man, maybe it's the spawn, maybe that's what's happening right now. So I stand up in my kayak and I'm looking, and there's a solid, you know, 3-pound bass. That's a solid fish for a limit, you know, probably 15, 18 inches. I'm guessing anywhere in between there. I don't know. I mean, it could have been bigger than that if I caught it, but the problem was, is as I noticed this, I kept messing with them, and it would just swim off. So it wasn't on a bed, but it was in that area. And what I found out was it was chasing these baits and it was chasing these small fish, but it wasn't eating them. It was just chasing them away from that area because he was getting ready to lay their bed. That's my thought process behind it. That's what I'm thinking was going on. But the fish just was not active. He was actively chasing bait away from that area, but he was not eating. So that kind of sucked. It took me a little while to figure that out. I kept trying because I was like, man, I've got to try. If I can catch that fish, that's a game changer, you know. And then I go back, and there's another. I go over this flat, and then it drops off, and so I make some casts with a jerk bait on that drop off. And I see that big fish swimming, so I make a cast down that drop off again. Like the flats come out, this big drop, and it's all sandy, and it's kind of like this little, what's the word I'm looking for here? Little channel kind of deal on this flat. So I'm making some casts with a jerk bait. I'm popping it, bam, get a hit, and I'm like, oh, that's the big fish. That's the fish. So I'm reeling it in, and as soon as it gets closer, I'm like, please don't let this be what I think it is. And I saw these chasing my bait to the boat earlier, and I was like, is that a smallmouth? Is that a baby smallmouth? What is that? So I go and I pull it up, and it's a perch. Caught a freaking perch on a jerkbait. So not the best thing. I'm like, all right, wrong species. Not even good enough size, even if it was. So drop it off, you know, just gonna shake it off the hook, and cast back in a couple more times, get another hit. I'm like, all right, this has got to be a bass. Make a couple like reels of the turn of the reel, and I'm like, please don't let this be a perch. Comes up, sure enough, another perch. So at this point, I've caught 2 perch. Pretty ridiculous. And then after I caught my 2 keepers earlier before I went down here, I did catch another bass, but it was only about 8 inches. So it didn't really help anything. It didn't count. It wasn't a keeper. So I'm at 4 bass at this point in time by about 9 in the morning. The only problem was the quality just wasn't that great, and it wasn't going to last. I knew that. So I had to find active fish, and I need to start actually hammering on some good bass. Well, the bite just died. It shut off. I fished around that area for a little bit more, and I said, I got to move. And so I moved to my spot B, which I thought would be decent, but by the time I left this cove, I'd say it's about 11:30, maybe 12 in the morning. And when I left, the wind picked up a lot because it had been storming off and on that day, but it hasn't been super bad storms, but the wind started picking up. So I leave and I go to my spot number 2, and it was, I don't want to say blown out, but it pretty much, the wind just kind of killed that. It was in the middle of the channel, in the middle of the lake, and had no shelter from the wind. So when I'm fishing, I'm just basically getting blown up against this bank. Did not help at all. So I was like, it's just not working. So I turn around, I make a run back, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna run back to the original spot where I caught my first fish. And again, like I told you earlier, I thought that bite might turn on later on in the day with those fish. So I go there, I make this long run, wind's ripping, waves are crashing over the bow, I'm on the motor drive, and like water's filling up inside the hole. And I'm like, oh, this is fun, you know. Wasn't a big deal. I mean, I'm in a kayak, and it was watertight. It wasn't just the water was just coming over the edges because the kayak kind of sits a little low in the water. Not a big deal. Again, I wasn't sinking. There was no water in the hole. It was just on top of the deck. But so I get to the spot I'm trying to go to, and make a couple casts, nothing doing, and then I see another kayaker on the end of this. There's a bunch of docks. I see a guy on a kayak at the end of these docks, and I'm like, man, I wonder how many bass he's been catching here. I wonder if this is a spot that I shouldn't have left. You know, like I'm just like, man, I wonder. You know, it makes you wonder. So. Long story short is he's over there. I didn't want to disturb him. I'm not trying to cut him off. I'm not that person. So I go over here and I kind of go back to the point and I work my way kind of towards like the beginning of the docks. Not getting in his way. I never saw him again actually after you know I moved and went and did my own thing. But just didn't work out. I wound up catching another fish. By this time my video had died. My card was maxed out. I don't have any footage of it. But I caught it, hooked the fish, reeled it in. It was about 10 and a half inches. Took a picture of it regardless. I mean, I'll show it to you here, but didn't help the cause. So realistically, in the end, I did catch 5 bass, but 2 of them were not keepers. So I caught 3 keeper bass, which is a game changer compared to Lanier. If you remember Lanier, I caught, what is it? 1 fish I actually landed, 2 fish I lost just trying to reel in. So. And that was it. So I caught 5 bass this time. I caught a limit of fish. Unfortunately, just 2 of them were not keepers. So I caught the 5 bass. That was what I was going for. I didn't get the quantity I wanted or the quality that I wanted, but you know, sometimes that's the case. Next time I'll try and be a little bit more prepared. I think I'm going to be able to pre-fish this next tournament, so hopefully I'll be a little bit more competitive and I'll have an idea of what's going on in that lake and what I need to do, and I'll have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. You know, and that way, if the wind's going on this spot, I can go to plan C. If if plan C isn't working out, maybe circle around to plan A. You know, something like, I don't know, but I'll come up with more of an ironclad plan when I get closer to that tournament. We're a couple weeks away from that. But just wanted to give you guys an update, show you guys some of the footage while I was talking. I hope you guys appreciate these videos. It seemed like you liked the last video that I recorded on this, or on my Lanier tournament. So I might keep this footage. Let me know what you guys think. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you guys watching. And I will talk to you later. I've got a dog over there chewing up one of my shoes, so I've got to go stop her from doing that before she destroys it. So hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Please like, please subscribe, and have a good one. Thanks.